Welcome to SciencePod, the podcast that puts a spotlight on the latest discoveries in science and technology. I'm Ryan from SCIEN-TALK, and today we're exploring some big news from Japan that could change the way we approach Alzheimer's diseases. Alzheimer's disease is a major issue in Japan's aging society, but a research team from Keio University and Eisai, Japanese pharmaceutical company, has made a big breakthrough. They've developed a new way to predict someone's risk of getting Alzheimer's disease just by looking at their genes. And it's made specifically for the Japanese population. Why is this important? Japan has one of the oldest populations in the world. By 2025, over 10 million people in Japan are expected to have either dementia or something called mild cognitive impairment, which often comes before dementia. And the most common cause of dementia is Alzheimer's disease. It happens when harmful proteins, like one called amyloid beta, build up in the brain. This can damage the brain cells and cause problems with memory, thinking, and decision-making. There's a new drug called lecanemab that can slow down this damage, but it only works if you catch the disease early. That's why knowing your risk before symptoms appear is so important. And that's exactly what this new research aims to help with. The research uses something called the polygenic risk score, or PRS for short. Think of it like this. Our DNA has thousands of small differences, and many of them can slightly increase or decrease our risk of getting certain diseases. PRS adds up the effects of all these tiny differences to give you a number. This is a score that shows how likely you are to get a disease like Alzheimer's. And it's like predicting your chances based on your genetic blueprint. You may have heard of a gene called ApoE. If you have a version called ApoE4, your risk is higher. If you have ApoE2, your risk is lower. But PLS goes beyond that. It looks at many other genes too, not just ApoE. Until now, most of these PLS models were made using data from Western countries, but the Japanese people have different genetic backgrounds, so those models didn't always work well in Japan. The Keio and Eisai team used data from Japanese patients to build a PRS model just for Japanese people. They looked at a large group of patients with Alzheimer's and studied their DNA. Then they focused on a special brain scan called an amyloid beta PET scan. This scan shows with the amyloid beta has built up in the brain, something that often happens before symptom begins. By analyzing the DNA and the scan results, the researchers found a way to predict with good accuracy whether a person is likely to have this harmful protein in their brain. They tried different methods to calculate the PRS and found that including the ApoE gene made the prediction much better. The final module had a prediction score called AUC of 0.76, which is considered very good, and they tested it another set of Japanese data and got similar results. That means it really works. So this is the first time we've had a genetic risk model that works well for Japanese people. That's a big step forward. It means people could find out early if they are at high risk and take action like changing their lifestyle or getting medical advice sooner. But there's a catch. Genes alone don't decide everything. Things like your diet, exercise, sleep, and even how socially connected you are also matter. So a high genetic score doesn't mean you will get Alzheimer's, it just means your risk is higher. That's why this is a tool, not a final answer. To use this in hospitals or clinics, researchers need to test it on more people and make sure it works for different groups. And because this involves the personal genetic data, we also need to think about the privacy and ethics. Still, this research is exciting, and it could help Japan and maybe of the world and get better at preventing Alzheimer's before it starts. And that's something worth celebrating. And yes, that's it. SciencePod is available every weekday morning in both Japanese and English. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share your thoughts and notes using the hashtag SciencePod. Thanks for listening and see you next time.